Okay guys, I'm finally back with this banger project. After tormenting dozens of ADCs during my bar challenge, I decided it was time to turn sides and play every single ADC across 100 hours to see how they compare. Welcome to part 1. This won't be your typical tier list video. No boring meta talk, no dry stat dumps, just raw experience and the real deal. To help you digest this video better, I added segments for each champion. For the first part, it's 8 of them. Make sure to stick through each segment. There is always something juicy at the end. Originally, this was supposed to be a learning arc where I would get coached by a master ADC main. I sent him my footage, and here is what he said. So, yeah, I guess I'm qualified to talk about ADCs now? By the way, I still have plenty of games to play for the next part. Do you want to see me play ADCs with a touchpad? It's your time to speak up. Let's establish some ground rules and metrics before we start. I will not evaluate matchups, current meta, or such topics. We are not here for that. My focus will be on the raw experience. Pros and cons, champion feel and identity, reliability, learning curve, common issues, difficulties, and other unique pain. I played multiple games on every champ, so no one game instant judgment calls here. Each of them had a proper trial arc. I have also played fair bit of ADC in general, therefore I have some prior knowledge as well. By the way, we are really close to 300 subs, but can we hit 500 subs after this video? Let's see. There is one more rule. We won't talk about Swain, Mel, Ziggs or similar. We will rather talk about proper ADCs, including the unconventional ones like Nyla and Corki. Yes, you knew Aphelios. Speaking of which, he's one of my favorite ADCs, even though I don't play him that much. He's a very unique character to play with. You have a wild and diverse toolkit for every situation with more guns than your average American. But he has the same issue as every jack of all trades guy. He's not the best at any of them. Overall, Aphelios feels great to play with because you have a lot of room to fuck around and find out. Pros, your enemies have no idea what your champion does. Cons, your teammates have no idea what your champion does. If you play solo, it's very unlikely for your support to understand how to play depending on your weapons. Unless you are like master or above. However, the same applies to your enemies. They don't know how your weapons function. Here Zed dives me thinking, money! But I have got the deadliest short range combo stacked. Red and white, don't fight. Even though I did not play it well, I still won. As with many other ADCs, good positioning is extremely necessary. You have no dashes and no sustain without Severum, aka the red gun. And you pop like a balloon full of disappointment. Even then, without a proper weapon combo, you are half a champion. You don't want to bring a sniper rifle into a close quarters, nor shotgun into an open field. Here, Ezreal whiffed everything except his ult, yet I was the one to die. That said, you can still do a lot of cool stuff, like these long range combos that your enemies nor your teammates understand. Or the very well known big blue gun ultimates, which only worked until they nerfed Infernum to the ground. Despite all of the above, I still find a great joy playing Aphelios. One thing is a must note though, you can't play him on autopilot. At the very least, you will mess up your weapon rotation and be borderline useless for the next 5 minutes. That's my most vivid Aphelios memory, and probably yours too. If not, let others know about your experience with Aphelios down in the comments. And as I promised in the beginning, something juicy at the end of each segment.
It ends in silence.
Okay. I'm sorry to all 5 of you Aphelios mains. Your champ was the first one in queue, which means I sharpened my rusty editing skills on your champion. But don't worry, there is a lot more to come. And the one coming right now is Jhin. He will also be coming if you stick around till the end of the segment and watch the poetry unfold. Jhin, the perfect champion. I have absolutely no bad thought for Jhin, and I don't know anyone who does. His lore, champion design, balance, kit, and everything else just clicks. I was never frustrated playing Jhin, and neither was I frustrated playing against him. Except when they do not stop on a quadra kill and get a penta. That shit is outrageous. How can you do anything different from 4 when your champion is based all around that? Your Q bounces 4 times, you have 4 bullets, your ult has 4 ammos, your name draws 4 on a keyboard, it consists of 4 letters, and you wanna kill 5 people? Switch your champion, bro. What exactly makes Jhin such a good character for me? It is fair for pretty much everyone, at every stage. Early game? Decent. Mid game? Good. Late game? Great. Annoying? Not much. Tiring to play? Not at all. Vice versa actually. I never felt any burnout during my 4 games with Jhin. Even when my whole team was hard losing the 4th one, and I was hard camped bot. Not once did I feel frustrated with my champion. I don't know what exactly makes this champion so satisfying. He has no dashes, he does not have super long range auto attacks, nor a hard CC or an escape tool, except move speed. However, it's a bit complicated because you need to hit auto attack first, which, like I said, does not have a great range, and does not shoot very fast. If someone is capable of one-shotting you under a second, you are most likely dead before you get that move speed to run to safety. Therefore, positioning remains one of the top priorities. But there is something very special in him. With a first look, he is a super simple, straightforward champion. But if you have ever played against a great Jhin player, you will instantly know the difference. The mind games they pull on you is crazy. One of the easiest ults to dodge become undodgeable as they guess your every movement. Neither can you gank or chase them as you will constantly be slowed by traps and lured into a blooming death without even realizing it. This all for barely scratching a surface. A true Jhin player goes further and digs into your psychology. Imagine you are an eco support. You want to unload your combo on the enemy ADC. They give you a perfect opportunity to so. But you know what? That was my plan all along. I just made you clear the entire wave so Xayah would miss it. Thanks. Yes, that's exactly how it feels to play Jhin. Count to 4, run around while you reload, miscalculate how much time it takes to reload, and die. Remember guys, switching to your secondary is always faster than reloading. Another problem is tanks. It's hard to kill them, therefore no carnage, no bloom. Jhin's damage is based on the missing health percentage, and it's a bit hard to make tanks lose HP, softly speaking. You have no built-in tool, nor any item in your core build to deal with tanks properly. However, with enough patience and mastery, they are not as big of a problem as they initially seem like. You will want to dive deeper, know more, reach beyond the surface, but you will be left with another mask. Sorry guys, but you are not him. Lastly, as I said, Jhin is a fairly straightforward champion in terms of abilities. Almost everyone understands how he works, so synergizing with your support is not as big of a headache as it is with Aphelios. However, it's still a bit frustrating when your support messes up your Q setup for a random engage. It's like they do not appreciate art and just want to fight 24/7. But for those that do appreciate art, this is for you. If you caught the hidden detail, drop it in the comments. Let others also appreciate it like you did. In the meantime, I will move on to the next champion. You might expect Jinx here. Aphelios has 5 weapons, Jhin revolves around the number 4, and Jinx has got 3 guns. Seems logical, right? Nah, Jinx is not even on this list. Instead, it's a champion with 3 abilities. Because you keep missing the 4th one trying to do a cross-map snipe. Ashe, another one of my long-time favorites. I have played her a lot, and if you are looking for that pure classic ADC feel, she's one of the best. even though she is technically more of an utility ADC. You probably noticed that the timer is bugged, and you would be right. For the first 10 or so hours the timer kept resetting, and it took me a few hours to learn the Lua scripting language and fix the OBS plugin myself. So just know that if the timer is bugged, it's the first 10 hours. Now back to Ashe. She's squishy, has no dashes, no sustain, so you have to position well, kite like a god, and space your enemies like you do with your responsibilities. Infinite slow and one of the longest range helps a lot with that, if you are in 2015. Now everyone has a dash, so good luck. On the bright side, she is super simple kit-wise, and landing across map ult, pure dopamine. And rarely anything feels as good as pixel perfect kiting for 20 seconds to chip 200 HP off of a tank. Seriously, I already said she's a utility ADC, she does quite a bit less damage than the heavy hitters. She chokes enemies over time instead of blowing them up right away, but even then, playing her still feels extremely satisfying. And extremely frustrating too. You remember how I said Jhin felt good to play with as well as to play against? Ashe is the opposite of that. She feels painful to play against and even more painful to play with. She is like this annoying fly. Easy to sweat if you catch her, but she will ruin your entire day buzzing around you, slowing everything down. She has a few big advantages though. First, most of your enemies tend to underestimate how powerful the slow is. It makes chasing down your enemies super easy. And secondly, they also forget about your peak potential. Seriously, don't sleep on that. Ashe ult is one of the best abilities to pick an enemy. Or even force a fight. Makes me wonder why everyone underestimates it. Another one of your underrated abilities is your E. It's not as great in solo queue, but in a coordinated space, having a global vision is extremely powerful. Unlike you need someone to peel for you, and Ashe is a lot stronger with pillar supports than hard CC or engage supports, with Braum being a sweet spot in between. If you play ADC, you probably are not into having fun, so you might as well pick Ashe to not deal proper damage, be super squishy and have no mobility. After all, you will learn how to kite and space extremely well if you want to succeed. But before you do, I have another edit for you.
Let's do this.
Yes, that Warwick part is exactly why I play Ashe. That and the snipes, obviously. Although if you really want that sniper feeling, there is a better champion for that. Caitlyn Kiraman from the infamous Netflix series Arcane. She was relatively unpopular before the series, but once she hit the big screen, she started rivaling champions such as Jhin and Jinx. I found Caitlyn usually chill to play, but I don't think it comes from the proper balance. From my experience, Caitlyn is either winning hard or losing hard. There is almost no middle ground. She is one of the lowest skill ADCs out there, and only newbies like XFS and Saber or Gumayusi play her. How can you say Caitlyn is hard when she is basically an assassin with 650 range and undodgeable auto attack? Your hardest skill is a trap that you just click and it drops on the ground? Then you hope for your enemy to walk into it? While your ult is point and click, one shot, one kill, half of the map away? I have never encountered any problem playing her. I don't even know how people manage to lose a game with this. The hardest skill you can develop by playing her is a sixth sense for your traps. And even without them, your traps are virtually impossible to dodge. Especially if someone decides to TP. They are basically stepping into a death sentence. For real though, I think the whole Caitlyn's identity can be summed up with headshots and traps. There is barely anything as satisfying as sniping someone from 2 screens away with a crit headshot plus rapid fire cannon. And dropping good traps is just pure dopamine, especially 3 in a row. It's like screaming, "I'm better than you," right into your enemy's heads, and there is barely anything they can do before being headshotted to oblivion. Yes, you guessed it right. I had some extra fun playing Cait. That's primarily because I was quite bad with her trap placement years ago, and I never played much of her. just a bit because I got a pulsified Caitlyn from a chest back then. Oh, in case you did not know, once upon a time they used to drop skins too. Over the time I figured Caitlyn is like an evolution of the mankind. Initially, you were pretty below in the food chain, but once you start to figure out how to craft tools and work as a team, you climb to the top of the ladder. Predators that used to hunt you are now a mere inconvenience, and a prey to be sniped with your superior hextech weapon from 300 meters. 300 years in the past. Getting there is usually a bit of a headache, but nothing extreme. You have a pretty good wave clear with your Q and a good lockdown capability with your traps. Not only, but you can use them something like an artificial wall, blowing any enemy up if they dare to touch it. This seemingly easy to avoid ability becomes extremely powerful if you have developed enough game sense for it, or if enemies are too stupid to willfully walk into it. I don't know what you expected there, but even I did not expect her to die. Overall, Caitlyn does indeed feel like playing a sniper-centered character. She's quite slow compared to most of the other ADCs, but she packs a powerful punch. She synergizes well with a lot of supports, and outranges pretty much every ADC in terms of base range. That advantage enables you to poke your enemies super easily during the laning phase, and makes you one of the safest ADCs out there. I try to put that hunting sniper feeling in the edit too, and I hope you will enjoy it.
And so it begins.
With that, we have arrived at another unconventional ADC, Corki. He's criminally unpopular, probably because people remember him more as a rocket spamming caster than a real ADC. But he now feels like an ADC and quite powerful as well. My biggest surprise was doing actual damage to Malphite and killing him, even though it took some effort and was rather thin. However, as with most of other ADCs, getting wind wall still sucks and takes away quite a bit of your power. Sometimes you can just stand aside and wait for 4 seconds, but other times you just hope your team wins the fight for you. Feeling wise, Corki is somewhere between Kog'Maw and Ezreal to me. You are relatively safe spell-based ADC, but you also scale quite well, have a decent wave clear, poke, and some explosive power. I mean, quite a bit of explosive power. And you can also deal with tanks, not exactly like Vayne or Kog'Maw though. For those who have played League long enough, Corki probably resonates more with an armored UPS driver carpet bombing the wall rift, but that's no longer the case. Now his passive is a bonus true damage based on your AD and crit chance. It is not affected by armor, therefore he's pretty effective against armored stacking champs, but not so much against HP stacking ones. Nothing of your abilities or items do max HP percentage damage. Other than that, I found Corki to be pretty strong and smooth. I don't remember being extremely annoyed by anything. Except a wind wall, of course. He has quite a lot of tools to deal with a lot of different situations. For example, most of the ADCs switch to Farsight mid-game, which sucks to get a bash vision when you are fighting or pathing to somewhere and don't want to face check a bash. If you can't get anywhere close to a bash, checking it with your ult is a possibility. You don't get vision, but in most cases you can tell if someone is there. Also, your Q applies vision. You know, those curse ties above your enemy indicating he has been grinding solo Q and has not slept for like the last 4 days. Yeah, they changed the game completely. Having a tracking vision of your enemy is powerful. It signals, I'm the hunter and you are the prey. That's Kaisa, you dummies. Corki is more of a target acquired, sending missiles. Having an escape tool also feels great, especially since it can go over the walls and make chasing quite a bit difficult. It's not as powerful as the old empowered package delivery, but relatively speaking, it does insane damage. Look at this for example. Lucian took 230 damage at level 8 with my level 1 0 APW. My boy Corki out here doing war crimes with jet fuel. Overall, a solid W for Corki. Everything was smoother than I expected. Good damage, burst or DPS, against tanks or squishies, all works well. A simple kit, easy to synergize with your support, either defensively or offensively. Being an unpopular champion gives you an extra edge too. They don't know your damage, and they often underestimate you, resulting in free kills. And as usual, another edit at the end. OG players, do you recognize this voice line?
Incoming!
If you did not recognize that voice line, don't worry, I have got someone you will recognize. Draven, you might think. But no, not Draven. Draven. Get it? Everyone knows Draven is a hyper-bullying ADC. He is a holy hate for everyone on bot, especially in the early game. But the thing is, Draven is also hated by the teammates, for some not so bright traits. Also probably because Draven players are either absolute dummies flaming the hell out of you, or completely 1v9 the game. And we all know which one happens more. I went in the first game with that mindset, and it worked quite well. Until Nocturne shut the lights off. Nautilus was a pretty big headache too, since he could easily force me to miss my access. With that, all my lead went to waste. If you don't know, Draven heavily relies on snowballing through the early game, and you can't keep the lane frozen or safe. Your passive forces you to push and play aggressively, then your skill determines if you get paid or slain. In my case, I was paid and slain. A bit frustrated and tired from the first game, I went into another one, now against Janna, and it was super easy for her to make me lose my access, turning me into a glorified minion once again. Then this super fed tank from top lane, and I was annihilated, even though I had some solid plays during the laning phase, which, by the way, was pretty much a 1v2 lane. So, what exactly happened? I could not snowball early on because my support decided to roam, which is often the case nowadays. So that's another problem under your belt. Especially since I found out not a lot of people know how Draven's passive works. Then, even if you're ahead, dealing with tanks with Draven is pain in the ass. Absolute nightmare. And if you go through all that, nowadays there's a bit too many popular champions with abilities that contradict your axes way too much. Yes, displacements suck, but now we have stuff like Summer's W, Mel's Reflect, and an Aphelios invulnerability on top of the old ones like a Wind Wall. All of these negate your access, and there is nothing you can do about it. Feeling wise, Draven is quite a bit tiring. Constantly having to think about your access and how the ricochet works in game, while also trying to kite and keep distance from your enemies is over the top, especially if you're new to Draven. On top of such stuff, Draven is one of the few ADCs with the main character vibes, kinda pushing you forward to try a lot more than you can. To help with that, you might want to buy a skin. And the best one at that? The OG classic, Gladiator Draven. I did, and it helped. My performance went up, and I won some games. Did that skin really help? I don't know, but it sent me into the mindset I needed to play Draven properly. I tried to keep the same vibes in the edit, and you tell me if I managed to do so.
Not Draven, Draven.
Something real, something raw, not accidental, no, I'm sure. You're not needed, show you the door, but what's that, yeah, are you sure? Yeah, that's a rental, yeah, what a bore. Lying, nothing in the core. Buying, yeah, what for, but do what I need to, always sure. Something real, something raw, not accidental, no, I'm sure. You're not needed, show you the door. What's that, yeah, are you sure? Yeah, that's a rental, yeah, what a bore. Lying, nothing in the core. Buying, yeah, what for, but do what I need to, always sure. Boring, never been that. I get paid, bro, just to relax.
It's hard to top off Draven's masculinity, but I have got someone who does. Ezreal, the soy boy. Bonus points if you play with the Star Guardian skin. Joke's on you, I don't. I prefer Pulsifier or Battle Academia. I'm gonna drop a controversial take here. As much as I like Battle Academia Ezreal, I still play Pulsifier more. I don't know what's in Pulsifier, but I still prefer it. There are some weird things I have to say about Ezreal. If you play him, correct me below and advise the fellow viewers. First of all, I feel like supports don't exactly understand how Ezreal works. I have played only 4 games on Ezreal, but I don't like playing him with a random support. There is barely any synergy. It looks like people don't understand how strong Ezreal is at level 2, and then not so much until you scale well. Neither do they understand how huge that passive attack speed buff is. They just engage whenever they want without letting you stack your passive, or clear the wave. Some ADCs can kinda ignore the wave state, but Ezreal needs some space to hit Qs, and 6 minions hugging you doesn't help at all. Not only that, but it's kinda hard to understand what type of supports he goes well with. Even now, I'm not sure which supports I prefer. From the Bard challenge, I assume that roaming supports will do well since Ezreal is a pretty safe ADC and can play solo for a bit, but eventually he also needs help. It's not like you can leave him forever and still expect him to scale into that late game monster. Seemingly, most of the supports don't understand that. And I played Ezreal games around Emerald and Diamond Elo. Enough of this whining about support. Maybe it's actually me being the problem, so I will say a word or two about Ezreal himself and listen to the Ezreal minds in the comments. I hope you got an advice for me. Ezreal feels more like a caster than a pure ADC. Pretty sure everyone knows that. You need like 2-3 items before you become a significant power in an all-out team fight. However, you hold a lot of power before the fight breaks out. With all the poke potential he has, you might be able to single-handedly determine if the fight breaks out at all. But you still need to remember that EWQ combo might look very juicy, but jumping forward leaves you extremely vulnerable. You are still an ADC after all, and a long-range poke ADC at that. Your short-range hands-on combat is not that great. Nonetheless, he is still one of the best ADCs you can pick up. He has a pretty high skill ceiling, keeping you mechanically challenged. The frustration I face while playing him does not come from him being a bad champion, but me or my support playing poorly. It's possible to play Ezreal without a headache of league or meta, but I'm not going to say the name out loud. Perhaps if they would sponsor me on the other hand. Anyway, it was really hard to put all that into an edit. The plays were either too long or too messy, but I tried my best. I hope it adds the cherry on top of your beloved character.
Time for a little fun.
I've been outside with the mice, eating that chicken and rice, while it was filled with the mites. Now it's an infinite price. If they wasn't living your life, then they shouldn't give you advice. How could we honor your words? If we see you missing your stripes, we get it. You've been in the game for a minute, but
And finally, the last ADC of this video. Alphabetically and logically, it should be Jinx, right? Wrong. It's Lucian. Why? Simply because I want to make his edit using the Hainan skin, and I think the Noxus map fits him a lot more than the Spirit Blossom one. Back to Lucian. If you have been around for long, you know how popular Lucian was. That's not the case anymore. Unless you count that disgusting Lucian Nami or Lucian Milio meta. Other than that, he's barely a shadow of his former self. I assume this comes from the itemization problems. Lucian, as a caster ADC, is mana gated in the early game, so you are pretty much forced to build Essence River first. Then you are left with pretty huge cooldowns, so I tried building Naori, but I realized I dealt no damage at all. Even though I was insanely fed, I still lost. It's probably more of a positioning mistake to be honest, but the feeling of not doing damage is still there. I tried the Kraken build, but it's so bad I'm not even gonna talk about it. I also tried Infinity Edge instead of Naori as second. I did damage, but my cooldowns were quite high. Getting Naori third kinda solved my issue, but I would say it was simply because I was over the top fed. This gave me the most issue with Lucian. Champion itself feels good to play, I dominate, win, try to push forward, but I simply don't have items to choose from. You either give up damage or cooldowns. This is usually fine with a lot of ADCs as they are auto-attack based, but Lucian is a caster one. Your autos don't deal that much damage, W and E do none, and ult is a pretty easy to avoid. Significant part of Lucian's gameplay consists of E auto, Q auto combo, and without Naori, your E is not coming back up anytime soon. Other than that, playing Lucian feels blessed. He synergizes well with a lot of supports, does well against a lot of enemies, and you can somewhat dictate how the game goes. He is not weak throughout the game, he is fairly strong during all stages. However, one huge drawback is his super short auto range compared to other ADCs. Only 500. His kit makes up for it, and that's exactly why it feels like you don't exist without Naori. No Naori, no abilities. Or maybe I'm just a rookie with Lucian and that's the issue. Although you and I know Project Lucian tops Hainan Lucian 24/7 feeling wise. Oh, and also, how do you deal with your failed love life, Lucian mains? Like, I was feeling so horny that day that I ran headfirst into this 900 megaton laser to meet my beloved wife in the afterlife. I hope my girlfriend doesn't see this. Other times, however, I feel so alive I turn into a god just to remain on the rift.
Devil always gets his due.
What are my thoughts after playing ADC for so long? This role is draining, and it looks like the lower you go in rank, the worse it gets to play. However, knowing the limits and weaknesses of each ADC is insanely helpful. You might have noticed how all of my ADC games became better as the timer went up. It's not like my Nyla games improved Nyla only. Now I can play every ADC against her far better than I could before. The same applies to Samira, Caitlyn, Jinx or Ashe, it doesn't matter. This is even more massive if you play any other role, but still pretty important for ADCs. Knowing interactions from both sides help you understand the matchup better. I always had a problem playing against Nyla, but now I am better equipped for that. More on that in the next videos. I did not stop on those 8 ADCs only, I did actually play every single one of them. Are ADCs weak? Depends on your definition of weak. They are designed to be carries, yes, but they are not designed to have a huge agency on the game. Laning mostly depends on supports, and I think a lot of people mix carry potential with agency. One is how much influence you have on the game direction, and the other one is how well you can carry under the proper conditions. However, it's up to your team to set up those proper conditions for you. Remember, you are not a playmaker. You are way too valuable for that. While everyone is playing a brawl, ADCs play dodgeball. Hit as much as you can without getting hit back in return. If you have any tips, advice how to make the next part better, or just wanna say hi, comment below. I see you all, and I appreciate each one of your comments a lot. Let me know what you liked and what not. It helps me to make videos you enjoy. Let's build up a community we all will be the proud members of. You can also suggest which ADCs you would like to be in part 2. For now, that's all with the ADCs. Thank you everyone who stick to watch me till here, my loyal viewers. It makes me happy to see you come back and watch more of my videos, and I hope to see you again in the future. I also have some good news for you. I'm planning to make a giveaway. Let me see how many of you are there. Show yourself in the comments. The more of you I see, the more likely I will do it. So, be loud, and thank you for watching till the very end. I will see you in the next one.